Alright, let's check the preview. Preview worked, and we can hit the live button now. So we are now, in about a 3 second delay, officially live. So we are looking good here. Lights are green. Let's flip over to my very awkward screen display, and I think we are good. Just turn my sound off, guys. Correct. Okay, so we're live. We're live. All right, good. We made it work. So for those who are patiently waiting for us, yes, Web, it is all Simon's fault.
I'm sorry, guys. Couldn't get the mic to work. Messenger.
Oh, absolutely fun. Okay, so welcome to our stream. I think we're working here, and we're very happy to have Simon with us today. So thanks for joining us. I know a lot of us have been excited. I've definitely been very excited. Simon's definitely been very excited. So I'd like to extend my official welcome to Simon. Simon, good morning to you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me and having the honor to do the Q&A with you. So I was excited to do it as well. We planned it ahead, so that's great. So yeah, I hope we can answer some interesting questions and can tell something.
Absolutely. So again, thank you again. So for those who don't know, Simon runs Simon's Bow Company. I guess I could do the introduction, but it's best to let Simon explain. So Simon, what exactly do you do?
I build laminated bows, and at the moment, the only bow I build is an Asiatic bow or horse bow, and that's the bow I built now for a few years, I think two, and there's a lot of interest and demand for them, and that's how my company started, and now it's growing. Or I try to grow it, but it's hard. Yeah,
Beautiful. Of course, Simon, you are based in the Netherlands.
yeah,
Of course.
yeah. I'm Dutch. Um, and I have my workshop now still at home, but I have some plans in the future. Maybe when it grows, I need a bigger space. But for the moment now, I have a nice, small, tiny workshop at my home. Yeah.
Beautiful. And of course, as we're going through our Q&A, feel free to ask questions. Tag myself or Simon in chat and we'll have a look at it. Both of us are following the chat right now. So at any point you have a question, just post and when we get a chance, we'll take a break and we'll answer a few questions here. So let's begin at the very beginning, of course. So Simon, what's your origin? Like, how did you get into archery and how did you get into making bows?
Well, when I was, I think, like 10 years old, I moved with my parents to. They rented a house in the forest, like a national park. And as a young boy, strolling through the woods and picking up branches, climbing trees, I started making bows from sticks. And I think that never got bored, never bored me. So I then when I got like 16 or 17, I saved some money and I bought like a bandsaw, and I bought the book, the traditional Bowyer's Bible, I think through the internet, and then I became interested in making wooden bows, and that yeah never bored me, so I still make bows. Yeah.
So, let's talk about the archer side first. So obviously, as a kid, you're fascinated by making stick bows, literally out of sticks. Like, what's your background in archery itself? Like, do you consider yourself much of an archer? Did you join a club? Did you train? What kind of archery did you do?
No, I didn't do any formal archery training, or I didn't. I was not a member of a club because my parents lived in the woods with a
Hmm.
large backyard, and I just did
Shot.
it. I just shot
Yeah.
probably the wrong way. And later on, I became more interested in also the technique, and now I'm really interested, of course, in the thumb draw. But that's only the last few years that I am more also busy with the proper archery and
Hmm.
the technique. And
So
that's
would you say that you started off interested in making bows rather than shooting bows?
yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find that fascinating because I think nearly everybody who I know shoots bows first and thinks about making bows second. But I've come
Yes.
across quite a few people who are very hands-on with making things, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating to see that people. I mean, obviously historically, people who made bows didn't necessarily shoot them. People who shoot bows didn't necessarily like make them, so they're quite
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I guess now we'll focus more on the bow making. So you started off as a kid picking up sticks in the forest and making your own bows. Firstly, do you have any like recommendations for kids? Like, what kind of sticks are best for making bows?
Well, that's a difficult one. Well, I think my first bows were made from a hazel tree or like a bush. They have straight sticks. You just cut them off, cut some groove at the ends, and just put some cord between them. Uh, that lasts for a day or something.
I was of course, many of us have tried doing this, but obviously the stick snaps, so there must be a secret to making a good stick. Somehow we've gone from like making sticks to making high quality laminate bows. So we've skipped a few steps in between. So let's go through our
Yeah.
journey. So you found this passion for making bows. You want to get hands on. So how did you go from like like, how did you start making bows?
Well, I when I told that I bought the bandsaw that allowed me to make bows from like lumber, like boards or big pieces of wood, and that led me to making like long bows and flat bows. And then I made laminated long bows and flat bows with wood and bamboo. And then yeah, people came to me and said, "Oh, can you make this for me? Can you make this for me?" And I said, yeah, I can try it. And then I sold a few, and that's when I sold more. And then I became interested in the more modern materials like fiberglass and thinner laminations. And yeah,
So I have a question right away. This is from me. I'm just curious because, like, for me, like making stuff with wood and just doing hands-on stuff actually isn't my thing. So I've never done it before. So, like,
yeah,
how do you go from like how did you explore these materials? Like going from like making a simple like self bow to
yeah,
laminate using modern materials. So how did you access all this information and like, how did you learn about this?
yeah. Well, it's quite simple actually. You can go to a company in in the US, Bingham Archery, and they sell like starter kits for making a laminated bow, like a long bow or recurve bow. So and they have like you can buy a DVD, and they explain it, and you can buy the necessities you need. So I bought a kit, like how to build a recurve bow kit, but I never built the recurve bow because I wanted to design my own model. But the way it's built is the same. And now I do a few things differently, but if you if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend buying a kit from them and buy the DVD.
Ah, so it's actually not as hard as it looks. I mean, assuming you have the right tools and workspace, you can actually get these kits to make your first bow.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. I think it's if you make your own design, it will be harder because then the whole thing is a bit different, but the way the construction, how it's constructed, is the same. Yeah,
wow. All right. So you've been making obviously a few bows, long bows and flat bows, and now you start looking at Asiatic bows or horse bows. So like, what was the inspiration? Like, how did you find yourself going from making like long bows to making Asiatic bows?
well, I was always fascinated with the speed, and because it's short, it has like interesting forms, smooth curves, and also a little bit like the I think in the Middle East and Asia there's a more archery culture than in Europe or in America, at least in ancient times. And I think that inspired me, and I thought like I want to build something like that. but not in the traditional way because that's very difficult. It takes a long time.
I was gonna say that
Maybe
I don't think
with more discipline.
I don't think there's a large archery culture in the Netherlands exactly. Because yeah,
No.
most of the bow makers that we talk about in Asiatic circles, they're based in Turkey or they're based in Hungary, especially quite a few
Yeah.
bows in Hungary. And
Yeah.
we mentioned like there's Simon, that was Simon, or who's Simon? Where's Simon? It's like, it's the Netherlands, you know, like. So it's fascinating to bring up. Yeah, that's the one guy in the Netherlands who makes bows, and either everyone knows who you are, or no one knows who you are. So it's interesting little pocket you find yourself in.
Yeah.
So I mean, okay, so let's talk about the Raptor. That is your flagship bow. That's the one bow you make at the moment. Tell us about the Raptor. So how did you come up with the Raptor? What was your inspiration for it?
Well, I wanted to build like an Asiatic type bow in modern materials, but I wanted to perform it like a modern recurve. And uh, there are a lot of horse bows or Asiatic bows out there which are fine, but not like speed devils. They do not perform well. They have hand shock. And I thought like it can be done better because the materials are the same. Uh, like a fiberglass and wood or bamboo. That's why I came up uh, with the design. Well, it took me a lot of trial and error to get to where I am now. Uh, a lot broke, or I was not satisfied, or all the different things I tried. But finally, I was satisfied with everything, like the speed, but also like limb stability, torsion, uh, easy to string. To name a few, if you want to sell a bow, it needs to have all those things, I think. So, yeah.
So, like, what's the basis of the design? Like, again, people ask me, like, what kind of bow is it? Because an Asiatic bow isn't a one kind of bow. There are many kinds of Asiatic bows. There are Mongolian bows, Han bows, Turkish bows, Tatar bows, and everything between. And people have looked at your bow and think, what exactly is this? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a Simon bow. So, like,
Well,
what's it based off? Like, what were your? I mean, obviously, it's not a historical bow. You've included many
yeah.
modern elements to it. But what were your what was the historical bow or bow style which you were most inspired by?
Well, it's a very good question because I get the question also a lot, and it's it's a combination of things like the aesthetics which I like, for example, from a Tatar bow or like a Ming bow. But I think like a Turkish bow is also of course nice because it's so short. In my opinion, it's hard to make a bow which has a pretty long draw length in the materials I have now, the fiberglass, to make it work proper. And that's what led me to this design. But it's not like really based on an horn bow from the past because it's not made from horn and sinew. It's made from fiberglass, so it's a laminated bow, so it has a little bit of the looks maybe of a Crimean Tartar bow or Ming bow, but it's not like this is the bow because it's not because it's made by me today with modern materials, modern machines. Yeah,
That's really fascinating because people love the history side, but when I used the bow for the first time, it was basically, hey, this is not like a bow I've used before. I've used Ming bows, I've used Turkish bows. Well, this doesn't feel like any of those. And what it seems is that you're really utilizing kind of like the modern materials and kind of maximizing the performance of the bow so
yeah,
that it suits a modern kind of market and a modern material. Is that about right?
that's very well said. Yes, yeah.
Good. So, we've seen that the Raptor is it's kind of like the bow you make. Do you make other bows other than the Raptor?
Not at the moment. I have some plans, and I made some designs for a recurve bow, like how you say it, a one-piece
Right.
modern recurve bow with a grip and a shell. And I have some thoughts about the limbs, how they should work, maybe a little bit similar like the Raptor limbs. So I'm busy with it, but more in my head because I too busy building the Raptors. But yeah, I hope I can make a recurve bow soon for testing.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Now, Swift only has a question. So, this is referring to, I guess, fiberglass bows. And actually, quite a short while ago, I did a review on the Numer Krabby bow. I think you've seen that already as well.
yeah,
So there was some feedback which I gave, and actually they fixed some of these problems right away, which is really good. So what the question that Swift had was, what's your professional opinion on the creaking noise of some of these fiberglass bows?
well, I I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's making the sound, but maybe it's the string on the knock or something, or maybe it's the way it's constructed. Because I think the solid fiberglass bows are the limbs are fiberglass and the tips are glued on,
Mm.
and maybe it has a little bit of tension in it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I find if I can answer the question, it was probably you're right. It was due to the limb tips where the string was notched onto the limbs. So
Yeah,
what we think we found was that there's a separation layers of the fiberglass, so the string was rubbing across the fiberglass. I mean that sound. So
yeah,
what we found was we theorized if you kind of sand it down, make it smoother, you
yeah.
wouldn't have that transition.
No,
And what I found was when I reviewed it, actually when I made the video, it didn't make the sound. I was kind of making a big point about it. I was kind of pulling it back and went, "Hey, it doesn't make the sound anymore. It's supposed to make the sound." So I had to like use
yeah.
old footage, but it fixed itself pretty quickly. So it seemed to be more the fiberglass thing. I've never had a wooden bow like creak, but my fiberglass bows have, so it seems to be quite
Yeah.
unique. Have you made like fiberglass bows, like all fiberglass bows?
No, no, no.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. So you talked about the Raptor, and we've talked about possible future designs. Now, let's go through some of the technical things. This is what people really love. It's just we don't most of us don't know this, and when you obviously work in your workshop, this is what you do every single day. So let's take the Raptor. Let's talk through your process. So, how do you make a Raptor from start to finish?
Well, I have it's made from a few different materials. So you have the fiberglass is facing the back and the belly of the bow. So this is transparent fiberglass. Then you have the solid wood pieces like the cia and the handle section. And between the wood and the fiberglass are layers of laminated bamboo, which you can see here. These are painted, but yeah. So that's the construction, and all these materials are just straight. Only the wooden pieces are made in the shape of the bow, and then they are glued together in the mold you see in the back. And if the bow is glued, it looks like this. So a lot of sharp edges. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see it, but here you can see a little bit like the different layers, and you see of course all the glue. But this is how it looks when it's glued. And then I cut the profile and sand it down to the shape, and then I have to tiller it a little bit. So I have the layers are pressed in the mold, and when the glue hardens, it stays in the form I just showed you, in the bow form, and that also makes the design of the bow, how it shoots and how it performs, the shape. It goes in the hot box. I glue it very hot, like 95 degrees, and then after a few hours, it's reached the temperature, and then I switch it off and I let it cool overnight, and then I can get it out of the mold and cut and shape the bow from it.
So how long would it take to make a single bow?
Well, it depends a little bit, but most bows will take about, I think, 2 days but does not include the dry time and all, but my working hours, like from start to finish. So from cutting the raw materials to put it in a box and ship it. Yeah.
All right, and obviously, how about the other things? You have the like the leather grips. So how do you source those? Do you make your own grips or do you source them from elsewhere?
No, I make my own. I make the leather grips myself. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
And I made the strings before also myself, but now I have them made by a company, and they're very well made. So
Yeah. So I have a quick question. So, question from Thomas Stofferneller. So the question is, what do you think about thumb rings, and could you imagine designing your own thumb ring?
uh, well, maybe, but I use now. I've used two thermal thumb rings, one with an edge and one like I think Turkish design with no edge. Um, and I like them very much. So for me, they're fine. So I have thought of designing more, and I'm not that good of an archer. So I think that's a task for someone else who is a really good archer.
Yeah, we mentioned that the Raptor takes a few days to finish. Now, kind of curious, like, how do you? This is just for me to know, but how do you like how do you set like draw weight? Like, what's the process? And let's say I want a 40-pound bow. Like, how do
Yep.
you make a 40-pound bow?
Good question. Well, sometimes I miss the weight, so I have to start over. But yeah, I can probably sell the bow, but I have to start over for that customer. But like the all the layers from the limbs, I can make different thicknesses, and the fiberglass I have in two thicknesses. So from experience, I now know which layup will end round about which poundage.
Ah.
I can sand it a little bit. So if it's a little bit too heavy, not like 5 pounds, but 1 or 2 pounds, I can sand it down. And I always tell to my customers, like, if you order like 40, it can also be 38 or 42. And if you want it really precise, and then we have to talk about it how we will do it, because it takes more time or can take.
Right. Okay. And that's pretty normal in terms of making bows. There's no. It's really hard to get an exact.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So we'll say 45, but it's kind of like plus or minus 2 or 3 pounds. That's about right.
yeah.
Um. Oh, here's a question which makes me cringe. This is from the Gizmono Mono. Do you do dry fire tests on the Raptor?
I've done dry fire test, yeah, but uh, I think 1 or 2 times it will survive. It also depends on the poundage, but it's not recommended, or do not do it.
I know we've probably seen some of the factories where they dry fire their modern bows like 1,000 times before they get the stamp of approval. But I don't know, it just makes me cringe and pain when I hear about that.
Yeah, I haven't done it 1,000 times, no.
Now, I got a quick question from Matt Rook over here. What do you think is the max speed possible from a horse bow?
Uh, well, I know that if you have like a Turkish flight bow, it's really insane. It's like I think over 300, I think, FPS. So, uh, well, I think if you talk like a bow which I made like in modern materials, it's around the same as a modern recurve bow.
Yeah, and what we found is like most bows, that's about 40-ish pound, but the average bows, most of them go around 180 to like 240 feet per second. There's not that much variation, especially because we're not compound shooters. We're not trying to get max speed and efficiency. It's about the bow itself, and what we found across the board is yeah, most bows are around the 200 feet per second, depending on your arrows, depending on your draw weight. And
Yeah.
the consequence, and this is what people I made a video for a different bow, and I shot 40 meters and I hit like spot like gold right away, and people were like, "Whoa, it's so good!" And someone pointed out actually it's point on, it's the best distance. So don't tell them that. It's just, yeah, our secret, by the way, is that 40 meters is where your arrow, if you're shooting with not sights, 40 meters is roughly where you'll be pointed directly at the target. So it's actually easier to hit a 40-meter target than it is to hit like a 30-meter target because you're not aiming off. So that's we find with most bows. I find with most of my bows, which are rough the same draw weight, 40 to 45 pound. Your arrows will land the same spot, so there's not that much variation in speed. Yeah, I guess with compound people or crossbows will tend to be a lot more like squeezing out 300 plus.
Yeah, that,
Yeah. Let's see here. Ugo has a question. This is more for us, I guess. This is more for an archery side. The question is, what should I do to make my bow hand stable? I guess your experience. This is more of a shooting part than a bow making, but you've obviously you've made and you probably shoot various draw weights. What's your experience, especially like when you see other people shoot? Like what do you sense could be the cause of people having an unstable bow hand?
ooh, well, I'm not an experienced archer. I think what I learned a lot from Chef on the Berg, because I often shoot with him, and I also learned a lot from Justin Ma,
Mm.
uh, especially when you about the bow shoulder, which I think a lot of people like put a little bit in their socket and should be down and then get your back tension right, and I think that will also stabilize the arm and the hand, I think.
Yeah,
But
that's a tough question, I know. I ask a boy how to coach. I don't think the question's meant for me, but we'll answer it anyway. I think the answer's there. Most of it is alignment. So getting your back tension right, your shoulders right, your shoulder down. But I guess the most obvious factor is like a draw weight. If you're using a bow that's too heavy for you, it's very tempting to buy a bow which is like 45, 50 pounds, 60 pounds. And look, if you're a big guy, you could probably brute force it. It's like just sheer strength, just pull it back and let the arrow go. But it's probably one of two things. Either the bow's too heavy for you, or you don't yet have the technique to use it efficiently. And you might be relying more on your arms and your hands rather than using your back. So, yeah, if depending on what kind of bow you're shooting, Ugo, if you're shooting, say, modern, then look up the shot processes. Videos like Jake Kubinski or that new Sensei guy. He makes videos too about process. But if you're shooting, like say trad, Grizzly Jim makes great videos on that. And of course, we have Justin Ma for Asiatic. So there's a lot of resources out there on how to correctly use structure and alignment. But from what we've been looking at, it's mostly make sure the draw weight's controllable, learn technique on a light draw weight, and work up to a heavier bow. And if your hand's shaking that much, then it's usually draw weight. Otherwise, it's your grip's too strong or your alignment's too weak. So it's one of those. It's quite a complex question, but there are many causes. Those are the most common ones, and hopefully that helps you, Ugo. Alien Doggy has a bow making question now. Finally, something I can't answer, you can. So the first question we've kind of already answered is how long does it take to make a bow? And the second question is interesting. Do you make several at a time, or do you make one at a time?
no, I make them in series of like 2 to 4. So there's 1 week of glue ups, and then the next week it's all cutting, sanding, and shaping. And the week after that sometimes in the more free moments I do the leather handles and the shipping.
And this is a side question too, but obviously you have a bit of a waiting list for your bows. How
Yeah.
long's your waiting list?
Well, currently it's about like 8 to 10 months.
Holy, nice. I choked this. Alright, that's great. That's great. So obviously high demand. If you want your Raptor by Christmas, get your order right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Let's see. I've got a few more chat questions here. I think. Um, what really? How many conic beers can you drink in one evening? Is that a question? You can do that.
What?
How many conic beers can you drink in one evening?
How many beers?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, I'm not gonna tell that.
Yeah. Okay, keep it archery related, guys. I'm not
I
sure.
I like a few beers. I like a few beers. Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Let's see. Swift. When can I come over to make a video about making a raptor together?
Yeah. Can be done.
All right. Next up, we've got Thomas again. This is a good question. So, which region are you selling the most bows to? Like, Europe, Asia, US. Like, what's your main market?
um, well, it was Europe, but now also America and like Indonesia and Malaysia
Oh.
have some orders. Um, I think in Australia and New Zealand, but only a few. But most is Europe, and then the US.
Hmm. All right, so keep on asking questions, guys. This is fun and interesting. So we'll get back to our regular set of questions because this is good, a really nice learning experience. So obviously, you've been making bows for a large number of years now. What were your mistakes? Like you've obviously mentioned quite a few already. But
Yeah.
what were some of your important learning moments and mistakes in your bow making journey?
Um, well, I discovered that making a very nice and beautiful bow is great, but it has nothing to do with if you want to make bows and sell them to earn a living or earn something.
Oh.
And I think there are a lot of people out there who can make a really beautiful bow, but uh, trying to learn how to run a business is something I sometimes hard for me and stressful, especially when now have suddenly a long waiting list because I only started like 2 years ago with like Simon's Bow Company. Before that, I just made sometimes bows and sold them
Hmm.
through friends or something, and now in 2 years it has lifted off like crazy, and that's of course incredible, and I'm very uh, yeah, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, grateful, I guess.
I
Thankful,
like that it
fortunate.
went this way.
Yeah.
I'm thankful to my customers and proud of myself that I did it. But it's I think that's one of the biggest mistakes maybe I made is just I thought, oh, I can make a really nice bow, and now I think like, okay, how can I make it efficiently and
Hmm.
do it proper and make a business out of it. And I think on the bow making side, I think trial and error is the best way to, yeah, of course, experience things, but it takes a lot of time and also maybe some money because of all the materials. Uh, and um, I think now I sometimes I'm looking at more a modern way of designing things on the computer.
Hmm.
But that's also new for me. So this is all designed just on paper and with wood and by hand. Um, but I think, yeah, uh, that's something to take notice of.
And I think that there are a couple of questions here which are related to that. So, firstly, do you make arrows as well, or do you only make bows?
No, I only make bows. I have some standard arrows here for if customers ask. And
Hmm.
sometimes I shipped 3 carbon arrows with the bow, but they're fine, but they're just standard
Yep,
arrows.
yep.
Yeah, I glue the flashing on, but it's not that difficult. Yeah.
So, question from Azizul Aziz. So, this might be related to your point about having sustainable business and making a nice bow which you can make a lot of. So, what made you settle on fiberglass and bamboo, and why didn't you choose other materials?
Um, well, I think that the what I want, the how the bow performs, it cannot be done with only wood or bamboo, because then you need to make a different bow. It needs to be longer because
Um,
the material is really stressed. So the the bending portion is really small. It's only this part of the limb is bending. So if it's like a traditional wooden bow or made from wood and bamboo, it should be a little bit longer so it can handle all the stress. And like a true composite bow is something I can't make. I haven't done it, and it's a lot of work.
ah. So, just to explain again, I think I understand too now. So, if you're using like a single piece of wood or a certain kind of wood, because it's not as flexible, you have to make a longer bow. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
so with the combination, especially bamboo being a very strong, flexible material, you can make a shorter bow with the same
yeah.
kind of strength and flexibility. That makes sense to me now too. And since we talk about woods, you're obviously very selective with your woods. Like, tell me about what kind of woods you do use and why you use them.
Um, well, I try to use mostly local woods, and those are like ash or black locust or elm. And I have some cherry and some walnuts. That's fortunately not from here. It's, I think, from America. Uh, and I now have tried some with the imitation tropical woods, which are really nice, and they are
Hmm.
made here in Europe. It's the wood.
Hmm.
Uh, um, but that's the wood I use. And for heavier bows, I try to use like black locust or ash or the imitation rainforest wood, because that's all pretty strong. And like walnut or cherry is a bit softer, so I do not want to use it on the heavier bows in the riser section
Oh.
because I think maybe it will not hold. Yeah.
And that comes up with the next question. This is from Mohammed Arobi. What's the maximum poundage of bow that you can make?
Um, I think I made like 70 or 72.
Hmm.
Uh, but I have to be honest that um, I think if I want to make really heavy bows, I have to redesign the whole bow because it works a lot of very different then, and it
Oh.
stresses materials on a different way. And my bow is designed to have like a low poundage bow, which shoots very light arrow very fast. So it's
Hmm.
designed more like a modern bow to shoot light arrows and easy to shoot.
Okay. On the flip side, like, what's your lightest draw weight?
20 pounds I can make, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's see. This is from Wira. The question is, well, I'm not the question is. The question is how many times the bow oven in the hot box. Trying to interpret that here. I guess we kind of mentioned it before, but how long do you leave the bow in the hot box?
I put it in the box until it reaches the temperature, and then I turn it off, and then I let it cool overnight. But it cools down very slowly because I have a very well isolated box. So it takes like almost, I think, 12 hours to reach like room temperature again.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
that's a long time. That's great. Let's see. Keep asking questions, by the way, because I'm running out of questions, so I've got a lot more to go through. But please ask more questions. So like we've talked about some of the mistakes you made. Especially in your case, you mentioned more the business side, so choosing a sustainable model, have the right materials, and mention a great point was like the idea of making like a really, really, really good bow but then like
Yeah.
selling a lot of bows. So obviously you have to like choose your designs and materials carefully. And I guess going back to base level here, what advice would you give to people who are interested in making their own bows?
Um, well, I think just be just do what you like, what you are interested in, and just not do what how most bows look or. Uh, I think because my passion was to create like an Asiatic bow in modern materials, which performs very well and is nice in the hand and looks nice. And there were a lot of people saying to me like, "Oh, but there are people they will not buy an expensive horse bow. That's not the market for it." And I just kept going because I wanted to make that. I wanted to do that. And now you have, if you wanted to have a bow with Christmas, you can better order now.
Ah, nice. Question
Yeah,
from CM here. What is the most beautiful color you make? Huh.
the most beautiful color
Yeah,
in the bow.
yeah, I guess so.
Well, I think I like the combination with the. Okay, is it? Can you see it like
Yeah,
from light to dark a little bit?
that's the sunburst, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. But like your bow, David, with the reddish imitation palisander and the black glass and the yellow fiberglass, the contrasting layers, I also like a lot. Yeah, I think it's the difference or between all the different materials that makes the best appearance.
Hmm. This is from our good friend Yap. What are your criteria for a good bow in your eyes?
Um, that's a good question as well. I think a smooth draw, I think, is very important. So it depends, of course, on the draw length. So the bow is designed for a specific draw length. But if you say like you can draw it to 30 inches, it should be smooth until 30, I think, and not like stacking at
Hmm.
28. Um, I think arrow speed is important as well because there are bows out there which maybe shoot fine, but they I think could do better if the bows were designed a little bit different. Um, and I think something pleasing for the eye is also there's nothing wrong with.
Absolutely. Well, it's an excellent question. All right, Azizel again. So, if you were to make an all black bow without
Hmm.
painting it, what would you use?
Oh, that's difficult one.
That's a good
Well, there
question.
of course, there are some dark woods like walnut is pretty dark, or like wenge, but I do not want to use tropical woods. But that those aren't really dark woods. It's not black, but
Mm.
dark. And uh, I made a few bows with like black fiberglass, with like the brown bamboo cores, and with walnut wood. So it's all sort of dark, not too much contrast. Yeah, so something like that. And I can
Yeah.
make the lint, the tips, the phenolic micarta tips also in black. So
Yeah, that's pretty normal. I think it's a pretty hard question because simply like black is not a natural color. You don't really see black things in
no,
nature. So you
yeah,
can have dark colors, I mean a dark brown or a very dark brown or a dark gray even. But an all black, mostly the black bows are fiberglass. Yeah, it's a fiberglass layer which is black,
yeah,
but the bow itself has a wood core. So that's a very good question too. That's a fascinating thing, and all black. That's very much a fantasy thing, isn't it? Right? You kind of see like, fantasy like ebony or something, which is all black and evil and devilish.
yeah,
A lot of Skyrim
yeah,
stuff in there too. So yeah, it's as cool as it is. I mean, the only black boats I've seen are like dyed woods. So if they're painted black around, then Actual black wood. Gizmono again. How does a bow maker determine the maximum draw length of a bow?
Yeah, that's when you design your bow. So it depends a lot on how the limbs work, the length of the bow, and also what you want. Like I think people are now taller than when they were in the Middle Ages. So I think, especially here in the Netherlands, people are tall. So uh, if a bow can only be drawn to 28, that's for me not so safe because a lot of people draw a lot further.
Hmm.
So I think you have to take those things in mind, consider it. On the other hand, you can of course make a shorter bow with a shorter draw length. That's of course fine. But it depends a little bit on the design and the length. Yeah.
As a fairly short person, I don't relate to this problem at all.
No, I'm pretty short as well, so it's fine for me always. But like one of my best friends, he's 2 meters 5 centimeters tall. So like 32, 33-inch draw length is his standard.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of my fellow Turkish archers. They're 2 meters tall. They pull back like a 16 inch, but they can't pull it back because it stops right there.
Yeah.
Always on my personal problems. People ask me, "Hey, where does it stack?" I don't know. I don't draw 28 inch. I can't draw it back all the way to 32 or 33. So that's one of my weaknesses as a bow reviewer. I'm just too short to actually pull it to its maximum length. So I'm well under the 28 inch maximum for most bows. So it's always a fun thing. CM has a question. Have you tried shooting your bows on horseback?
No, not yet. I got invited by Seam to do a workshop, so I want to do that in the springtime. Yeah, I have to.
Mm.
Yeah, I will.
Nice.
I will.
Matt has a question. Good question too. Business one here. So, how do you factor in warranty into your business model?
Yes, I have warranty, and of course, with the bow comes like a flyer, a small document, and the everything for the warranty, which applies the warranty, is on there.
I think I've got it right here. In fact,
Yeah,
yeah, I've got a. Oh yes, it is. I've got the little pamphlet with the instructions. I think that's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, I've got it. Yeah, that's the one. My screen has a tiny thing here, but you can probably see roughly. That's the thing that comes with the bow. I've got it lying
yeah,
around, so that's about right. Um, and apparently you can't be held accountable for damages. That's if you screw it up yourself. I've read the fine print here. That's about right. So if you screw it up, that's your fault. Um, I've got some really good questions here. Firstly, Yarp, and this is a question I had as well. Now, obviously, you've shot bows. Hopefully, you've shot bows other than the ones you make. So, what are some of your favorite bows and models that you shot?
I like I shoot a lot with Chef, with Stefan and with Jaap, and Jaap and Stefan they also make bows like Jaap bolt bows and Stefan bamboo bows, and Jaap makes beautiful wooden bows, and Stefan makes really nice the laminated bamboo bows, and I really like them. And I shoot also a lot with Leon wood bows, and he makes I think one of the best wooden bows out there. And when you talk about like modern bows, I think I shot the I don't know, is it the Satori chef?
Oh, the Hoyt Satori.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was really impressed by the limbs, like the carbon limbs and the speed and no hand shock and yeah. I've seen some other beautiful bows last year at the gathering. There was a bow from Turkey.
Hmm.
It's made in the US. It's shot very nice and it's beautiful made. And a bow from Big Jim's Bow Company. also beautiful. Yeah, that's about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Azizu again with great questions. What is the longest straw length you've made?
Well, it's 33 inches.
33.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the longer model. Yeah, for the 56-inch length Raptor. Yeah.
All right, this is good. So, okay, keep asking questions. We'll probably go for another 5 or 10 more minutes, but keep asking questions while we can. Just as we start to wrap up here, so we've talked a lot about your process, talked about your designs and the things you've learned so far. Like what's your in terms of looking towards the future? Like where do you see yourself and your bow making? Let's say in 5 or 10 years time.
Well, interesting question. Yeah. Well, I hope I can grow my company a little bit, and I hope I can get the order times of the waiting list down. Um, um, and I hope people are still interested in my bows in a few years, so I can keep on going making bows, of course. But I want to grow the business slowly but steadily. So that's my goal. If I can reach it, I don't know, but that's yeah.
Yep, and on that note, like, how do we get bows from you? Like, how do we get in contact with you, and how do we order from you?
You can email me directly. You can order directly from me, and there are a few stores which sell my bows. A few dealers. So, like in the USA, it's just in Ma, and in Germany, I have a few, and England and France. So it depends a little bit. You can order through store or you can order directly from me.
Hmm.
Yeah, through email,
Yeah.
website.
And I got another question from CB this time. How do you feel about people's obsessions with numbers, draw weight, feet per second, and so on, compared to the I guess the harder defined features? Like we think about handling and comfort. So I guess the frame the question is, and this, I get a lot too. People ask how fast to shoot, things like draw weight. But when I do reviews, I talk about how it feels. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about numbers versus feeling?
I think feeling is more important. But I think numbers can be important. Like for me, if when I design the bow, of course everybody says, "Oh, my bow is fast," but I have like a chrono and can just see if it's really fast. So I know from a builder's point of view, is it really fast? Did I do my job? Yes or no? But I think for the customer, for the experience, I think the feel and do you like the bow? Does it feel right? I think maybe that it's smooth in draw is more important maybe than a little bit of extra speed, or like hand shock can be really annoying. So I think indeed there are a few more important things than just those very exact numbers.
And speaking of handshock, like I want to ask, so was that the reason why you had the leather grip? Because that's my favorite part of the bow. Actually, the bow is nice, but my favorite part was the grip. Like,
Yeah.
was that why you designed that grip?
Um, yeah, because of course it's not like a grip in a modern bow with your hand. The bow's resting on your hand and it's comfortable and it has a shelf. It's more like a stick.
Mm.
Uh, I think it needs to be smooth because I shot a few bows which were not so uh, gentle on your hands. Um, and because it's not like a form grip, it needs to be really comfortable as well. Yeah. So from the basic shape, it needs to be comfortable, and that's why I designed it. And there's like not design. There's like here and here a little bit of cork on under the leather, so you can squeeze it a little bit. It makes
Ah.
little bit like not on the sides, but here a little bit and here, uh, and that makes it all a little bit more round and squishy and more.
And it is squishy. Like you love hand shark. No, you don't, Johnny. You don't love hand shark. No, that was one of the most surprising things. It's like it's. I said in my reviews, most comfortable I've shot, and that was what surprised me the most was that grip. I didn't know there was cork in there. That makes a lot more sense now. But that was
Yeah, it's,
really a little secret.
yeah,
That was a really comfortable bow. That's what I said. Like I've shot a lot of Asiatic bows, and they all feel different. But this one feels like I'm holding something squishy. It's like ooh, I can. This is especially in Asiatic archery, we tend to grip the bow quite tightly. I know in Western archery
yeah,
we have a loose grip, but in Eastern archery it tends to be a quite tight grip, and you get calluses. If you don't have calluses, you're doing it wrong basically. And shot the whole day and didn't feel a single thing, and it just felt amazing to do. So that's a very great innovation, and it's I think really appealed to me when I was shooting it was it's a Asiatic bow. It has that traditional kind of like look and feel, but it's got a
yeah.
modern taste to it, modern twist to it. So the materials, the grip, all these are like your innovations which you've added, and you kind of refine your idea of the perfect bow. I guess I know I mentioned perfect bow. What is the perfect bow to you? You can say the Raptor, but I guess we're moving forward. Like, what's it's like, if you were to make a perfect bow, what would it be?
Well, like what we talked before, like when you can dry fire it 1,000 times, that would be something, yeah. Yeah. So for me, for like for making bows and selling them, it would be perfect to make something which is almost indestructible. That's sometimes difficult because when you want a high performance bow, everything is critical. So draw length, the tension, and that makes it more. Uh, I think so. It would be uh, for me. It would be nice if I can make an indestructible bow or something that, yeah, something like that.
And to be frank, like a lot of bows are pretty hard to destroy, unless you really like trash it, like put it in bad conditions, or you like run over a truck or something. And most of the bows will last like forever. Well beyond what you use it for. Speaking of destructibility, Azizel again with the best questions. How's the durability on your leather handle? Have you had any complaints or reports about the grip? Falling
No,
apart or.
no. I haven't got any complaints about the grip or. Well, I think like this is my bow, and of course the leather will like this will the stitching will get a little bit dirty, and it will of course it will get a little bit I don't know, maybe some scratches or but the leather is stitched on, but it's also glued on, so it's also glued, so the like this stays uh, pretty much in place. But of course, if you use it a lot, it can come off. But yeah, that's of course because it's a tool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very nice thick padded leather too, and plus it's a cork lay inside, so it's quite a durable design. And I've used other bows where the leathers come off because it's like imitation leather, and it's a bit less durable. But this is something you can just one look at it and you go, oh, that's gonna like last longer than your shoes. It's gonna last for a long time. It's really good. Let's see. Martin, that's a question there. So it means you can make the handle a little bit thicker with the cork? Question mark. So I guess if you add more millimeters to the cork, you get a bigger handle. I guess.
Yeah, it can be done. It can be done. I made like a handle with a little bit thicker cork on the back, so it was more round there. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
Azizel, that's a good question. The string material is it fast flight or is it Dacron?
Yeah, it's fast flight.
Fast
It's
flight.
Spectra 652.
Yep, and I've got it right here because you can see the tiny inside of my window, but it is fast flight. Yeah, Spectra 652. Beautiful. Let's see. All more questions. Less the question, more of a comment, but I guess Monomono says there are two bows which he's fallen in love with from reviews: the Keshik from Alibo and the Raptor. So
Thank
that's great. So was it once you have money for the Raptor, you'll buy one. Just remember 8 months leading time. So just order now, pay later, right? Nice. That's really good to see, definitely. I would like a kashik one day. Actually, I work at Alibos. I might ask them for a kashik. I'll get it myself. Do you work closely with Kevin Smith from Robert Hood Archery?
Yeah, he helped me in the beginning a little bit because he was really enthusiastic about my bows. Um, and what he sells my bows as well, and he also he helped me especially in the beginning, and we still have a good contact. Sometimes he makes a sale or he has a question or yeah. Mm-hmm.
Duke Burma has a point. I've tested your bow at driving a few times, not on purpose, and it's fine.
Okay,
Good to hear.
well, good to know.
There we go. It's
Safe.
proof. A stamp of approval. The bow does not blow up on the first dry fire. Don't try this at home.
Don't do it. Don't dry fire it.
Never dry fire.
Okay.
All right.
Only back, but
Okay, I think we're wrapping up. It's been just over an hour, so I think the questions are kind of reaching the end here. So any last second questions, throw them in like right now. But otherwise, I think we'll start wrapping it up. So I guess my final question, Simon, for you would be like,
yeah.
if you were to like look back, on your journey so far in archery and in bow making, like, well, what are some of the highlights for you? Like, what are your thoughts and your best memories of going through all this?
Well, the highlights I think is now, for example, what we do here now is like we got in contact, and like years before, I was sometimes your channel, and I was like, wow, and now uh, um, I we do this, so that's for me like a milestone maybe. Um, and I think one of the highlights is. Well, in the beginning, I made a few bows, and then that there are some people are really enjoying my bows and are enthusiastic. And sometimes I still get like messages or emails from customers who enjoy it, and that's something for me which is very important, which I like a lot. And I think the people appreciate the craftsmanship and the work I put into their bow. Something for me is memorable. Yeah.
Hmm. Fantastic. A couple of quick questions. One from Martin Hanush. Not sure if you can answer this, but what size of hand are your bows designed for? I think some glove size. Like how big are the grips on your bows?
Well, it depends a little bit. Like this is for my hand, so it's you can see it's longer than needed. But if you have a big hand, I can make the leather a little bit longer. Uh, so can be done, but standard it's like for most hands. It's okay.
Yeah, like the grip isn't that customized. I mean, if you want to customize it, you can. But I think
Yeah,
most of the grips are they fit like one size fits all. Most of the hands,
yeah.
unless you got really, really big hands and really small hands, I think you'd be fine with most of the design. Do you often reply to mail?
Sorry.
This is an alien dog. Do you often reply to emails? You haven't. Apparently, alien doggy hasn't received a reply. Ooh.
Well, sometimes I have to be honest. Sometimes a lot of the emails come in my spam box, and I have to go through the spam. And I got a lot of spam as well because of my website. And sometimes maybe it will get lost because I delete the spam. So if you start the email by "Hi, I am," I like, then it sounds more like a spam than.
True. Question from KW. So the
So
Raptor's a nice
please
looking
email
bow,
me again.
of course. Are you planning on making new styles of bows, like Turkish style or so on?
No, I think the recurve bow will be my next big project.
Yep. And this is for me apparently. Yep. David, would you be interested in a bolt bow? Gee, after Simon's glowing review, sure, I'd be interested.
Yeah. He makes really nice bows. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I reckon we'll start wrapping it up. So thanks a lot again for your time, Simon. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been, of course, a very special experience for you both that you sent me, and definitely one of the best birds I've used. So if you're interested in getting your own Raptor, Simon's website and his Facebook page and his email. Don't spam him. They're all available. And of course, remember there is a long waiting list, which means high demand. So if you want your bow by Christmas, you might want to start ordering now. But again, thanks a lot for sharing your experiences. I hope that you've enjoyed this as much as I have, and that your future endeavors and projects come together very well. So once again, Simon, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you a lot, David, for this opportunity, and it was really nice. Thank you.
And of course, thank you all the viewers and the questions. There's definitely some very, very interesting questions, and hopefully you've all learned something as well. So with that said, we'll sign off. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you stay safe wherever you are, especially in our current climate. And of course, till next time, we might have another special guest. See you next time, people. And awkward transition. And thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you all next time.